Part 4, Chapter 23 of Short History of the Christian Church by John Fletcher Hurst. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 23, The Russo-Greek Church. The Russo-Greek Church is the direct descendant of the Byzantine Church. It is the ecclesiastical product of the development of the Russian Empire. It was founded by Vladimir the Great, A.D. 980. Constantinople, the center of the Byzantine Church, was also long the head of the Russo-Greek Church. But in 1589 the Patriarchate was removed to Moscow, where it has remained ever since. There have been three stages in the development of the Russo-Greek Church. The first was an ecclesiastical dependence on a foreign head. The second was complete freedom, and the third has been dependence on the temporal authority of the Czar. The great reformer of the life of the Russo-Greek Church was the Patriarch Nikon, who, between the years 1652 and 1666, contributed immensely towards throwing off the old and dead forms of the early period, and bringing the Church into harmony with the advanced ideas of the later times. The civil authority had but little power to improve. But the growth of the empire under the present Romanov dynasty has made the ecclesiastical authority only secondary. The change took place under Peter the Great, 1689 to 1725, who made himself the real head of the Church as well as of the state. Theophanes Prokopowitz, Archbishop of Novgorod, who died in 1736, cooperated towards the same end. The Holy Governing Synod was the nominal chief authority, but the Czar must confirm all its essential acts. The empire is divided into 24 eparchies, or dioceses. 5 of them are presided over by metropolitans, namely Moscow, St. Petersburg, Kiev, Vilna, and Siberia. The clergy consist of 3 classes: the black, the white, and the assistants. There is little harmony between the monastic and the regular clergy. Peter the Great attempted to elevate the secular clergy, but with only moderate success. The monks still hold great authority, and have all the advantage of tradition, age, wealth, and popular veneration on their side. The number of parishes of the regular clergy amount to about 18,000. Christianity was introduced into Russia by Greek monks, and from this beginning the monks have endeavored to hold the chief power in their own hands. The old monastic life of the East has preserved in Russia some of its main features, being a compact and united body, thus differing essentially from the numerous orders which have arisen in the Latin Christianity of the West. There are 4 kinds of Russian monasteries: 1. The Episcopal palaces; 2. The cenobia, or cloisters having a common life; 3. Cloisters of separate life, or monasteries proper; and 4. Penal cloisters. Formerly, the monasteries were supplied with inmates mostly from the wealthy nobility, but there has been a decrease of late in the tendency of the wealthy and noble to enter the monasteries. The most recent information shows that the larger portion of the young aristocracy entering the clerical profession leave Russia and become members of the Jesuit order. From 1841 to 1857 about 5,000 men and 2,000 women entered the monasteries and convents of the empire. On Mount Athos, in European Turkey, there are about 70 monasteries, containing 7,000 monks, who are chiefly of Russian origin, and are supported by Russian means. The following are statistics of the Russian monasteries down to 1891. There are now altogether 681 monasteries in the Russian Empire, 479 for monks, and 202 for nuns. The number of monks is put down at 6,950 fully consecrated, and 4,711 novitiates and preparing. Of fully consecrated nuns there are 6,289, in preparation 16,865 more. Total of both sexes, 34,815. It is not generally known that the monks and nuns in Russia do not lead the comparatively active life of the modern Roman Catholic conventist. They do not study, nor visit the sick, nor engage in any useful duty in life. When they are not engaged in weary rounds of ritual, they are sitting in their cells in apathy and utter idleness. The monastic clergy have the entire control of the education of the younger clergy. As a proof, during the last century and a half only 2 rectors from the white, or non-monastic, clergy have been chosen to preside over theological schools. Alexander I gave great attention to the increase of schools and the general development of theological education. From 1839 to 1873, about 5,000 young men graduated in theology. But during the same long period, only 18 theological works were produced. The theological development of the Church, therefore, is at the lowest point imaginable. The clergy are, in the main, very ignorant. Even the elements are neglected. The education is confined to the study of the Eastern Fathers, and there is not the least sympathy with the new Western science. Incarceration is the penalty of a theological student for visiting a public library, while the reading of a work of fiction, if known, is visited with expulsion. The censorship of theological authorship is very severe. All books and journals are submitted to the bishop through a censor monk. This amounts, in most cases, to the burial of a manuscript. Authors have had to wait 10 years before learning the mortal fate of their works. The Russo-Greek Church abounds in sects. These are, for the most part, supported by the aristocracy, and in general betoken a reaction against the prevailing errors of the Church. There have been 2 great schisms in the Church, but general life has proceeded without serious harm to the general unity. The sects are divided into 3 great classes. 1. The sects without priests. These are the radical party, of whom the Danielites, the Capitones, and the Theodosians are the chief. There are, besides, smaller bodies, who are secret in their worship and are strictly prohibited, but manage to keep up a form of priestless worship. Among them may be mentioned the Scopsi, or self-mutilated, the Shashagach, or self-burners, and the Straniki, or pilgrims. 2. The sects with priests. These are mostly the people of the "old faith," who see in the existing Church a wretched lapse from the old purity. They hold to the need of a return to the original simplicity and purity. 3. The Reform sects. Among these are the Molokans, or milk-eaters, and the Duchoborges, or spiritualists. They observe great simplicity of life. During the last 20 years there has been an advance in the general condition of the Russo-Greek clergy. The aristocracy hold themselves quite aloof from the general restraints of the Church. The Russian nobility are thoroughly saturated with scepticism, deriving their literature and models chiefly from France. The lower classes are both ignorant and superstitious, and are more easily controlled by the clergy. The clergy, in general, are not models of pure living. Many of them are given to excessive use of alcoholic liquors and to gambling. End of chapter 23.